Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Sick Podcast Talking Titans. This is our first show post NFL draft. We're a little bit late, a little bit behind for you, but we will make up for it and then some. Let's not waste another second. Sammy, start us up.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Talking Titans.
With the first pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Cameron Ward, quarterback, Miami.
The sickest Tennessee Titans podcast. Sick! It's gonna be sick.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, we are back with another edition of the Sick Podcast Talking Titans, joined as always by my counterpart, Jarett. Jarett, how are you doing today, my friend?
Pretty good. A little tan. I'm sorry I had to delay the podcast a little bit. I had a little vacation in Arizona while the draft was going on, so we had to push it back. So, we're going to talk everything Titans about the draft and new unis and new fancy quarterback. So let's get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mentioned in the opener, we have not been on for a full show since the conclusion of the draft. So this will be our first time to, give our instant reactions on our picks. And of course, as the coming weeks transpire, we'll have more different kind of opinions on these guys and what we thought the level of success will be for them and etc. But let's dive right into it. Obviously, we talked for a good amount extensively about our number one overall pick, Cam Ward. We're going to have months and months and months to talk more and more about him. But we did our live instant reaction after round one, so we won't go too crazy on that. But we'll start off with our second round pick, and we'll go down the line there. So I think most people might say this pick right here might have been the most out of left field of all of them, but I think this pick has maybe the second highest ceiling after Cam Ward, just based on size and ability and the little bit of film we've seen on him as an edge rusher. Of course, I'm talking about
Femi, however you pronounce it. We'll get there before the preseason. Yeah, this podcast is not with the pronunciations. But if Sam, you want to throw up the draft picks for us, and we'll walk them through each round right here. So we've seen the breakdown, Sal, of everything. People have been grading us A pluses. People have been grading us A's. It's definitely a different time for Tennessee Titans fans because we haven't seen that in a very long time. I mean, it seems like we've hit almost all these picks.
Means nothing.
Of course it doesn't. But until these guys are on the field and actually play. But it seems like they love the day three picks, and we'll get into those. But Femi, obviously he went from inside linebacker to edge, a ginormous size. I was reading that he blew it up in the Senior Bowl, and he had some really good pass rushes in the Senior Bowl. So I mean, if he develops, I agree with you. There was other talents in the second round we could have got, but obviously, Mike and Mackenzie and everybody else over there in the brass loved what they seen in this guy and his potential. So I'm okay with it. Still, edge is a glaring need for me. I was talking with RJ. RJ actually called me on the phone yesterday talking about the draft. Still is enormous need on this team. So hopefully we go in free agency and address that. But what did you think of that round 2 pick, Femi?
Yeah, so when it happened, I told you for weeks prior to the leading up to the draft that I thought receiver in the second round was a necessity, regardless of the Lockett signing. So, I knew they were going to go edge. I did not hear anything about this guy. Now, I make sure I tell you guys, a lot of my draft analysis is very procrastinated to the last couple of weeks. So, there's plenty of guys that are probably going to be excellent players that I didn't really know much about going into this. But once I did some research on him and I took a look at some film and saw the sheer size of the guy, I'm certainly very optimistic about what he might be able to provide for this edge rush position that we have next to no depth at. Like I said, I know he was just turned into an edge rusher last season, like in the middle of the season. He was more of a cover, like linebacker, safety-ish kind of position player. So, in the second round, a guy that might need a little bit of polishing, I don't know if that was the greatest move. Sometimes I
Very
feel like no matter who's in charge of this organization, they always try to do some things that are like trying to outsmart everybody else, whether that be Robinson or anyone before him too. But I really like this guy. His personality is off the charts. I tend to say every single year that you can often sometimes watch a guy talk to the media and just kind of tell if he is mentally going to be prepared to excel in the National Football League. And this guy seems to have that kind of personality where like failure is just really not going to be in the cards because he's just so articulate and he seems so in love with the game that it's just going to work out. So very excited for the upside. What is he, 6'5", like 260, something crazy like that. I know he's not 6'5", but pretty tall dude. And I'm excited for it. It's a need, hopefully the polishing works and he lives up to his ceiling. But personality wise jumps off the chart. So I'm going to give this brass the benefit of doubt on Femi Oladejo, and if he's half as good as he could be, he's going to be a fan favorite in about a snap of fingers. So moving on to round 3, we're talking about Kevin Winston Jr., who is sort of, I think, a Jeffrey Simmons type prospect in which, injuries, some off the not anything really off the field, but majority injuries is what pushed him back. A lot of people said without injury, he could have been the first safety picked. So where they got him, it should be an A+ if he pans out. But safety, obviously, another position of need. Not a ton of depth there. So to round out the edges here on our defense, he might be someone that needs to step in day one and make an impact. I think he has the ability to potentially do that if he's healthy. What do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't say day one starter. I mean, yeah, he tore his ACL. He's coming back. It's progressing. But if you look at a lot of these picks that we're still getting into, these are future picks and these are future starters for them. If he comes in and he plays like a backup role to a very reliable Xavier Woods, who resigned in free agency, if he comes and plays special teams, this kid, that would be a plus because he's going to take that spot and go right over, plug and play in the following year. But obviously, I mean, this kid is elite of elite. They keep saying he would have been the first safety off the board. He's rangy. He's long. He's sideline to sideline. He's very physical. So, I mean, it definitely was a need. And getting a young safety in the 3rd round with that caliber play style is an absolute steal. So the only reason why he fell in this draft is because of the torn ACL. So that's an absolutely impactful pick, in my opinion, with Kevin Winston Jr. Moving on to from DK. Another wide receiver. Didn't think he was going to be the first wide receiver off the board for us with other players that were on that list, but they keep saying we want guys that love football. And I'm looking at this list right now, and you've seen a lot of these guys, and when they got the call, they just love football, and that's their MO. DK, he ran a 4.340 at the combine. He had 42 catches, 783 yards last year for Florida. He was averaging 11.7 on punt return. So, I mean, this is a guy that you could plug him into the slot with a competent quarterback like Cam Ward and just kill it on the crossers. Give him the ball, let him run with the ball in his hands, and let him be a perfect punt returner, a kick returner for us, because that's 2 checks right off the bat. So, I mean, I think he's going to make a big impact, an immediate impact in this weak wide receiver room right now.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of research I did on him. Some people think, although he has a lot of upside, this might have been a smidge early for him. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because if he pans out, he could go first, he could go last. It's a great thing for the organization, of course. But yeah, obviously the 4.3 speed is the one thing that probably jumps off the page as to why he maybe jumped up into the round 4 range. Apparently he's in a pretty good route runner. Apparently there is potential for some special teams there too. So really exciting. I mean, if you're going to become a potential vertical threat, which this team has not been since its inception, you're going to want guys that run a 4.3 to do that. So it's going to be potentially real good for Cam if he can build any kind of chemistry with him. And we know Cam certainly is not scared to, cock back and just fucking let it sling it. But so we'll have to see. it is, you know, it's a pick that has a ton of upside, and the speed's there, and there's multiple positions we could put him in as far as special teams receiver. So we'll see how that works. But, you know, overall, round 4, I think, is really where the masterclass of this draft could potentially be for Tennessee, because moving on from DK, we're going to Gunnar Helm, tight end from out of Texas. I think he's like 6'4",
6'5",
right?
6'5", big boy,
right? 270, something like, sort of 265,
260.
somewhere around there. So yeah, obviously we have been attempting here and there to try to get tight ends of this kind of frame with Josh Wiley, of course, who's really right next to him. You probably wouldn't know who's bigger. They're probably very similar in size. Obviously, Gunnar Helm has a lot more experience with high-end competition in college, right?
Yep.
Josh Wiley went to Cincinnati. Not like Cincinnati doesn't play anybody, but we're talking about Texas here,
Yep.
Who, you know, obviously was in play for a championship. So I love the college players that come from winning, whether that be a championship or damn near close to it. Now, he did wind up winning one too, right? Last year?
Who?
Didn't Texas win last year or no?
No.
Texas hasn't won?
Texas hasn't won, but I mean,
Okay.
Ohio State won the national championship last year. But still, I mean, Connor Helm was all over the field, and he was a 1A target for
absolutely.
For
so I think this is I think he's going to be tight end 1, pretty close to the jump here. They want to get obviously Chig still involved, but he really isn't a traditional tight end. His frame is much more receiver like than tight end like. So you got to assume they're going to be using him more as a wild card type player, where maybe they'll line him in the slot. But Mr. Helm is just a tight end through and through from top to bottom, and he's the kind of guy that you feel you can maybe have as an anchor if he's half as good as what his potential could be. Hopefully we could see Gunnar Helm in a tight uniform for a long time to come. And again, he comes from winning. He's a ball first guy, like just eats, sleeps, breathes the game, and loved his reaction when they drafted him. His family looked thrilled and excited to see where he can go. He could make a big impact in year 1. He really has a chance to. That's for sure. He's not fighting a lot of people. So we'll see how that works out. But let me get your thoughts on Mr. Helm.
Yeah, Helm, like I said, I've seen him throughout college. I've been pounding the table for a tight end. I mocked Gunnar Helm in multiple mocks in my mock drafts for the podcast. So I was ecstatic when we got him. The guy's a baller. He could play inside. He could play outside, vertical threat, just catches the ball and a huge red zone target. I mean, like I said, he had he was one of the best, Texas not wide receivers, Texas targets in that offense this year. And you had Isaiah Bond, you had Matthew Golden, you had Gunnar Helm. So for him, have 9 touchdowns and just absolutely kill it last year. This is a prime target who's going to take over tight end 1. I tweeted it last night, and Josh Wiley is going to be climbing down that depth chart because it's going to be Gunnar Helm and Chig, I believe, to lead the tight end room for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible Josh Wiley isn't on the team, to be completely honest with you. There's only 53 guys, and you got to assume there's no universe. Chig's not making the roster, and Gunnar Helm is just a guy that you would have to believe would have to be really bad in OTAs and camp and preseason that he doesn't find a roster spot. So, wouldn't shock me to see Wiley out on the outside looking in. But a lot to love about Gunnar Helm and what his impact could be this year with Cam Ward at the helm as well. No pun intended. So moving on from that, I'll tell you what, Jarett, this kid right here, ironically, other than Cam Ward, anybody that I speak to, even from this area in Jersey, when they talk about the Titans draft, they bring up this kid from Stanford and, how they didn't expect him to drop as much as he did in Alec manner. And I don't want to get my hopes up because, there's really not a lot to hang your hat on with draft picks coming out of college at this position, except one guy who we will not name. But this kid, he is a really tall, really athletic receiver that just seems to just take the ball away from anyone that can test him. And there's a lot to like about this kid and what he could bring to this offense at the wide receiver position with some youth that we desperately need. So I'm very excited for this guy, Jarett. I'm sure you are as well.
Yeah, definitely lacked quarterback play over there, so that's why his stats are not jumping off the table. But what's a better way of when the Jaguars draft Travis Hunter than drafting Alec, who absolutely pissed and dragged Travis Hunter throughout everything, having 280 yards almost on him in one game. So I mean, to have that, and I think he literally comes in and he's a better version of NWI. I think he immediately gets to a wide receiver 2 or 3 possibly. I mean, you have an older Tyler Lockett, but this guy, the way he's saying that he could play slot, he's most likely comfortable playing X. This is a great pick. I can't believe he even fell this far down. But like I said, Stanford and him not getting the ball and the targets that he wanted possibly dropped, and it's an easy target for the Titans to go wide receiver, tight end, wide receiver at the top of round 4.
Yeah, you could tell he was devastated about how far he dropped too, because when he got the call, he told them that he was in his room by himself. And then once they showed some of the footage of his house, his family came in. It's as if they saved him from doing something harmful. That's how depressed he was. Obviously we hope that brings a chip up to his shoulder.
Absolutely.
There's plenty of guys, including McVay, that thought he was going to be a lot higher than where he was. And that's a great thing, getting these guys that are not only humble but hungry to prove other teams wrong about why they missed out on them. Always a good thing when you're the guys that get them. So again, you're right. He certainly has the potential, if he does the things he did at Stanford in the NFL, to be right beneath Calvin Ridley on this depth chart. We really didn't
Catch radius is insane too. Huge red zone target, another one. So I mean, it's a massive need.
I mean, we didn't really touch a whole lot on Tyler Lockett yet, and I'm sure we will in the coming weeks, because he's just been such a stand-up guy to start his time here with us.
Tweeting every single draft pick, welcome. It's crazy.
I mean, I didn't realize he was 33, and he's really getting up there. But if he stays healthy, he's still just one of those guys that just is annoying to play against, because he just gets open. He gets open. He doesn't drop anything. And I think if this team shocks the world and does a Washington-type turnaround, he's going to have to be a big part of that. And having a veteran like Lockett there, who's done it all, played in the Super Bowl, etc., it's going to help out tremendously. But back to Ayman, I'm really excited about him. I think sky's the limit, and hopefully he brings the edge that we need. And, DK too. I mean, you got drafted above him. You would have to assume DK is going to be in the mix to also potentially get on this roster and be a legit number on the wide receiver line. But
let's not talk about Xavier Restrepo. He went undrafted, and we got him as an undrafted free agent. So that's another guy who's who's calling in the 4th round to draft, and we get him, as an undrafted free agent. So that's competition galore. He's going to make the roster.
Yeah, there's again, it seems like this is the case for a lot of Tennessee Titan position groups, but especially this one. This team at the wide receiver position has a chance to be abysmal, and the only reason they'd be abysmal is by injury and lack of production by rookies, or it could be a group that they're going to carry into the new stadium and be thrilled about it. And of course, that would mean, still Ridley towards the tail end of his contract, and DK, Io Manor, Restrepo. These guys could be guys that we have for a long period of time and have at discount, not to mention as well. So we gotta keep our fingers crossed that 2 out of those 4 guys are NFL caliber receivers that are substantial, production guys. And I really think Restrepo is going to be, man. He just seems like a dude that
he's going to come in and work his ass off. That's what he's going to do.
Yeah, hopefully it's like a Mason Kinsey situation, except he's really good. You know what I mean? And he actually doesn't, no disrespect to Mason, but he doesn't need to have 6 injuries to finally see a fucking active game. So we'll see how that goes. It's a complete wild card. Obviously, the 40-yard dash is the main reason he didn't get drafted. And I understand it, but it blows my mind how they look so much into that. But I digress. jumping over now into the 5th round or 6th round, right? We didn't have 5th?
Fifth
Round, yeah.
Jackson Slater. I mean, to get a guy at this caliber who is absolutely dominant, first team All-American over the past 2 seasons, 877 pass blocking snaps, 0 sacks allowed, 1 quarterback hit. You have that flexibility with him to go guard or center. Okay, now Zeitler, he signs a 1-year deal. If we draft him to replace him, that's an excellent find in the 5th round. And it's a young guard to play with a young tackle, another young guard, and Cushenberry. I mean, we're starting to build that line. Like I said, this is an excellent find in round 5 out of Sacramento State, and just loved what they did. I remember a rep in the Senior Bowl against Walter Nolan, one of the best pass rushers in this draft, interior pass rushers. He absolutely anchored down and beat him on two occasions. So I love to pick with Slater.
Yeah, obviously, no matter what way you slice it, this is a flyer pick. Anybody in the 5th round, there's usually a reason they're in the 5th round, whether that be lack of, competence of opponents or whatever the case would be. Obviously, that would apply a little bit to Jackson Slater, not playing for a big school, but he seems like a real blue-collar kid, hard-working guy. The senior bowl tape jumps off, very physical, probably a smidge undersized for the position, but seems to be really aggressive with his hands and is able to do a lot of good things. And this is a great situation for him. He doesn't have to jump right in. And, to be honest, he doesn't really necessarily have to make the team right away because, believe it or not, even though there's a lot of question marks at the O-line, we certainly have enough people right now.
But I think he comes in, he's going to make the team just because of the fact of the lack of depth that we have here.
Very well could be, but what I'm saying is it's good for the kid that he's not coming into a situation where he's got to start day one. And, you know what I mean? Because we don't know how that had an effect on Skoronsky or Latham. Coming in, starting on an NFL roster day one, it works for some. It doesn't for others, especially when you're coming into a league from a very small college. So I think the upside's there. It's a flyer. We'll hope for the best. And then, just to breeze quickly, I'm going to go 10 seconds here. Round 6, you got Marcus Harris. People say that was the stupidest pick ever. He's like 25 and he's got a lot of negative bullet points. Whatever. Who cares? It's a swing in the dark. Maybe he brings something. You got a running back named after Superman who just became a running back like fucking 10 minutes ago and was a linebacker?
Yeah, he was a linebacker.
Okay. So,
those guys. Hopefully those guys are just special teams guys. I mean, I thought they were going to go running back a little earlier, but whatever. They
really don't need to. You know what I mean? I understand it. My dad wanted running back earlier too, but I think Pollard, what he did on a horrible team, gets so overlooked. And Spears was definitely dealing with some injuries last year, and when he's healthy, he could be a highlight reel player. So, I mean, it would be nice to have some depth. Again, I think this is just Tennessee trying to maybe be a little bit smarter than everyone else. Let's take the kid that transitioned to a running back 10 minutes ago, see if they could catch a Scattaboo-type player that nobody knows is a Scattaboo-type player yet because he's just became a running back. Strong guy. We don't have a lot of luck with running backs out of Michigan. With our flyer, we took on Haskins a few years back, which I think he's still in the league, actually, believe it or not. I swore I saw him.
I think he's with Arizona, maybe.
But regardless, overall, Jarett.
LA, I think he's with.
Yeah, something like that. I know what's his name. Chestnut is like he's the one that's on Washington. He's the one that's on Washington. Gets like 10, 15 carries a game. But anyway, overall, I think this draft was a big success. It was important to me that this group, this position group or I should say this brass, this new regime, didn't do anything that made absolutely no sense. They took Cam Ward like they were supposed to do. They addressed the edge. They might have gotten a little bit touchy-feely with why they went that route with Oladejo, but a lot of upside there. They addressed receiver multiple times. A little bit of depth at the offensive line. So overall, I mean, this is what we wanted. Now, the rewards have to come from it because, as we know, Jarett, if you really want to make a swing at a championship, you got to build through the draft. You got to get most of your top half of your players on those $3 to $5 million a year contracts that they're on. because that's how you bring in the little pieces here and there. You overspend a little bit more for a receiver, corner, etc., and then you're able to go over the top. And then obviously, if Cam Ward is what we expect him to be, this guy's going to be probably making $50 million a year by the time he's getting a contract. So that's something you're going to need to think about as well. But overall, I'm so excited. And preseason, man, talk about one that's going to be riveting, because there's just so many positions here that you don't even like.
Yeah.
Khalil Mullings could be fucking. He could turn into a whatchamacallit type guy, like the guy we let go the year we went to the playoffs. That one, Deontay Freeman Dante Freeman type guy, which we don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Pollard's a great, but he's not really a power back. He's more of an elusive guy. So who knows? I mean, who really knows? DK could be next fucking Deshaun Jackson. Like, you don't know. I mean, we're going to have a lot of things we're going to have to find out. But we addressed a lot of needs, and we got to get Cam adjusted to the team. That's what we got to do.
The best thing is literally that now that we have a competent quarterback who can get the players the ball, who can read defenses well. Hopefully, everything, all signs point to it now. Yes. Okay, so obviously, Will Levis had a lot of work to do. He was older. He really didn't get the system. Now it's almost like a plug and play. That's how confident Cam Ward says. It's almost plug and play. He's familiar with the system. Let's not forget now when Callie was coaching, Cincy, and he was the offensive coordinator with Joe Burrow. I know we're talking about Joe Burrow here, but still, he had the third best quarterback percentage in the league. So if he can get to that caliber, and Cam Ward is that guy, like we're all saying he is, and everyone's saying he is, watch out, because if Brian Callahan, and people were open last year. If you watch the games now, it's just the competent of the quarterback getting the guys the ball. And now that these guys with DK and Alec and Calvin Ridley and Tyler Lockett, guys that can find the open space and run with the ball, like an AJ Brown. AJ Brown, we got him the ball in open space and he took off. We've missed that the last couple of years now that he was gone. Now we got these guys that have yak ability and can stretch the field, and we lacked so much speed. Now that we have it, and Cam Ward with his arm and be able to read the defenses and take the checkdowns and throw the ball down the field, I'm excited as all hell for this team now with Cam Ward at the helm. So skies are bright down in Tennessee for us.
Yeah, I've been watching so much Cam Ward film the last week, a lot. And at this point in my fandom, like, I'm not even really caring anymore about what would be considered a jinx, or we've been through so much that it's like it doesn't even matter anymore. What I'm gonna tell you is what I'm seeing when I watch this guy play. And again, I'm gonna preface it by saying the style in which he plays the game. It is Patrick Mahomes. That is, I mean, you could put a 15 Chief jersey on Cam Ward's film last year at Miami, and you wouldn't really think anything differently. I mean, they play very similar styles, very even keel. They never seem completely terrified by any situation. They do all kinds of arm angle throws. Even the way they run is very similar. They have that short step run, very short step. They do not stride at all. Again, if it could be a 30% of that, that would be the best quarterback we've ever had. So obviously we hope we get all of that and more. And we create a dynasty in the volunteer state, in the pro level.
Please.
And that would be obviously life-changing in many ways. But it's exciting, man. This is the first time in my lifetime we've had, obviously Mariota was number 2, but there's just a little extra there when you have the number 1, and the whole 3 months leading up to it, you have the number 1. And it happened the way we wanted it to happen. A lot of crazy things needed to happen for us to get the pick. It's just, another situation where you say to yourself, are the stars finally aligning? Just like when Malik Willis slid to us and then Levis slid to us. Oh, are the stars aligning?
Yep.
Well, no, they didn't. And now we have the number 1 pick. What needed to happen to get us the pick could be looked at as a stars align. But we fucking could get whoever we want. This is the kid. And, you're right. Sky's the limit. That's it. That's all we can say.
I'm telling you, man. I've never been excited more. I'm not going to get too hyped up like I did with Levis and everybody. I'm going to let this all play out, and then I want to judge. When game 1 goes to game 2 to game 3, because at my age, I was snake bitten so many times, but Cam Ward finally looks like the guy that we've all wanted. has head on right. He already holding a playbook when he's landing, so you know he's in there.
Yeah.
He's working out at 2:30 in the morning when he gets drafted. So his mindset's there. I mean, this is a great leader to lead our franchise going into the new stadium as well. So
absolutely. And the only thing that's unfortunate about this is, and I'm making sure I stand by it, there's just no way. I mean, he's got to have, like, I'm talking 7-8 consistent games of high level play before I'm really going to start thinking this is a real possibility that it's finally happened. Because we, like you said, we've just been snake bitten so many times, and the way we've been snake bitten is just
crazy.
Like Mariota's first game against Tampa, you would have thought I mean, listen, the yardage wasn't crazy, but you would have thought we had Michael Vick. Or you would have thought we had, prime John Elway, first game of Mariota's career. And then the same thing with Will Levis. The hip twitches he was doing. It was like, no way. We did it. We finally did it. And then it winds up being the biggest disaster, probably a bigger disaster than Vince Young was. So I cannot let it happen to me again. Cam could throw for 450, 4 touchdowns, and we could be playing the fucking whoever, the Bills week 1. It needs to be consistent.
Yep.
It doesn't change. I'm going to have the jersey before, and any gear he puts out, that's all given. But when I'm laying in bed, I can't go to sleep like, oh, this is him. No. We got to know for sure. We got to get the consistency there, and then everything else will fall into place. So I think that's going to be it. We pretty much covered everything, all things post-draft. We'll have so much stuff to cover.
Oh, yeah, we got so much to talk about next week, too.
Absolutely. And things are going to start rolling in camp. We're going to start seeing clips left and right from St. Thomas Sports Park very soon, which is just going to fuel our conversations even more, which is great, of course. Because, week 1 will be here in 10
before you know it, yeah.
So make sure you stay locked into our socials. We'll keep you updated about anything coming up for us. We always try to have great guests on who have their ear to the locker room to give you the best information possible. So please feel free. If you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. We're almost at 2,000. Hopefully we can get there in the next couple weeks. All the help from you guys is going to be appreciated. And that's it. I hope everyone has a phenomenal rest of their week. We'll catch you on the flip. And as always, tighten up. Sammy, send us out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Talking Titans on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.